The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Digital Health Europe Call for Twinnings webinar. This is the second webinar aimed at introducing you to the scheme, the Twinning scheme, and hopefully raising your interest to apply to get funding via Twinning in the Digital Health Europe project. My name is Trachil Birov from Empirica, and I'm also joined by Birgit Morleon from the European Commission. And in the next 20 to 25 minutes, we'll walk you through the main aspects of the scheme and how it relates to key European Commission priorities. And then we will have a question and answer round where we'll collect questions. This time we'll collect questions and we'll not answer them immediately, but hopefully by tomorrow we'll be publishing a frequently asked questions document with the answers available for you. Can you maybe just indicate in the chat that you can hear me well? And I will continue. Okay, so apparently everything is fine with the audio. Good. Yes, this is the agenda. As we mentioned, we'll briefly walk you through the Twinning scheme and have some room for collecting questions. The Twinning scheme is part of the Digital Health Europe project, which is a coordination and support action supporting key priorities of the European Commission, and Birgit will tell us more about that. It is a 2-year project that started at the beginning of this year, and we are 17 partners, but also supported by a board of experts, and we have, in addition, partners members, more than 20,000 entities that are supporting various aspects of the project. So the project is not just about the Twinnings, but the Twinnings are one of the main parts of the project. This is an overview that you can see here. So we have 3 multi-stakeholder communities relating to different priorities. And for each of these communities, we are working on different aspects, such as identifying digital solutions for person-centered care, looking at how to support entities who wish to work on these priorities, providing them funding advice, and documenting experience towards developing so-called building blocks, which will help others interested in replicating success stories to more easily scale up their solutions across Europe. So there are various activities going on. In the middle of this, a key aspect again is the Twinning actions, which support all 3 priorities of the communication. So, but I will leave the priorities actually to Birgit. So Birgit, if you can please take over.
Yeah. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Birgit Morleon, and I'm responsible from the European Commission side for this Digital Health Europe project. And this project helps us in implementing the communication on the digital transformation of health and care, which the Commission published in April 2018. And this is all about harnessing the potential of data to empower citizens and to build a healthier society. And you see the infographic resuming this communication here right now, and it's centered around 3 activities or 3 priorities, I must say. It's the secure access and exchange of health data. It's health data pooled for research and personalized medicine, and then digital tools and data for citizen empowerment and person-centered healthcare. And an important element here is the upscaling and the implementing digital services in health and care. So we already did a lot of pilots, research projects, feasibility studies on how digital technologies can support the health and care domain, but we really want to bring them now into the medical practice towards the clinical floor, and that is where Twinnings come in and are an important tool to exchange knowledge, to exchange experience and to help each other to fully benefit from the possibilities of digital technologies in the health and care domain. And I really want to call upon you to become an adopter or an originator and really help us in making this digital health come true.
Okay, thank you very much, Birgit. So I will go through, my colleague is sick, Daniel, so I will go through the twinning scheme, some basic concepts, starting with the fact that, as already mentioned, the twinning scheme is supporting the 3 priorities. So it is covering really many different topics, and in the twinning scheme call text, you will see some suggestions for topics, but these are not non-exhaustive as long as they relate to the EC priorities. What the twinning scheme is provides funding for the transfer of innovative solutions from one European region or country to another. And the main actors, the main stakeholders in this are the so-called originators of an innovative practice. So these are the region or entity which has experience with a scaled up locally innovative solution and are ready to share this experience and know-how to others across Europe. And those others we call adopters, twinning adopters. It can be one adopter, but very often it makes even more sense to have multiple adopters for a specific twinning. It is up to the twinning applicants, so we accept really one-to-one twinnings or one-to-many twinnings, many adopters. How to find a twinning partner is where we are trying to support you through the so-called twinning marketplace. So if you go to the Digital Health Europe website, you'll see there the section about the marketplace, which is basically trying to connect different partners, establish actually partnerships, and help you find suitable partners to apply together with. This is one way to do it. Of course, you can do it through your own networks. Both of them work. Once you have a twinning and you apply for twinning, if you are accepted, then the twinnings typically last up to 1 year, depending on twinning type. We'll see in a few seconds that there are different twinning types that we are funding. And the idea is that through the experience that you do during these twinnings, the experience is reported, and it helps us in the Digital Health Europe project to work on specific tasks, including, for example, defining the so-called business building blocks to help others learn from your experience and don't reinvent the wheel, but really support others with some easy and practical steps, success factors, barriers that need to be avoided that you've already experienced. So that is the idea, helping directly the twinning partners to scale up solutions in other places in Europe, but also collecting this information, which is a valuable resources for others who wish to do so. Okay, so this is the definition we have also in the call text. So twinning solutions is the object of your twinning. You can also call them twinning topic actually, and they are the digital know-how which is transferred through twinning activities. And this can be in the form of a product, a service, a process, methodology, strategy, business model, as long as they relate and they are based on digital technology. So obviously we are looking at the EC priorities which focus on health data. Therefore, we're in the domain of digital technologies, digital. They must be innovative, and there's a definition of what innovative is. The solution should have not been used in the adopting region before the twinning takes place. As I said, in the twinning document, there are guidance lists with some possible topic areas to give you an idea about what a twinning topic or a solution could be about. But again, these are non-exhaustive, and participants are free to also select other solutions and offer other solutions as long as they are related to the EC priorities. And depending on the twinning solution, there are different types that we are funding with different twinning budgets. So twinnings range from knowledge exchange and training. This is actually the type that is more popular and that we have successfully tested in another service contract called Scala, where we had 20 twinnings exchanging knowledge and training. So this is the first level. we can always go to adaptation, which would be then taking a solution, innovative practice, and adapting parts of it. We know in healthcare systems, it is not easy to transfer everything 100%. So we might identify elements that need to be adapted first. Partial adoption is very similar. You need to adapt, but also use the solution in the region. And then this goes to the last, full adoption or acquisition, where adopters really either buy or completely adopt the solution ready to be used in the region. So there are definitions about each of these in the twinning documents. So I urge you to actually visit the website, download the documents, and learn more about the specificities and the differences of each of these types. As we said, there's an online marketplace to facilitate twinning partnerships. So if you're looking for a partner, if you're an adopter, looking for specific areas based on your local national strategy where you want to progress, but you don't have an originator yet, go there. And if you're an originator with a very good practice and you want to share your knowledge, this is also where you can post about what you have and what you would like to have. Depending on the twinning type, we have different budgets, funding budgets, and also expectations about roughly about numbers across these types. So you can see this as well here. We have an almost 1 million budget for the twinnings alone. The twinning scheme is implemented in the form of competitive twinning tender, meaning that the applicants will be evaluated based on specific criteria, award criteria, and will be scored and ranked, and those with the highest rank will be funded until the budget is insufficient to fund the next best twinning. Participation in the twinning is open to legal entities established in member states of the EU, and we've had already some questions about this aspect, especially, for example, private companies, whether they can apply. The focus really is on local, regional, and national health and care providers in Europe. So healthcare providers, of course, can be also private healthcare providers that wish to adopt digitally enabled solutions. Twinning activities must involve a transfer of digital know-how, again, focus on digital from one region to another. And another important aspect is that the twinning originator and the twinning adopter must be from different countries. In case of multiple adopters, obviously, it is enough that one of these adopters is from a different country than the originator. A twinning tender can be submitted by a single organization. So we're looking at the so-called twinning contractors who basically act as managers of the twinning, and they can submit a twinning comprising one originator, one or multiple adopters, and even third parties. Successful tenders are offered a contract, and we have some dates about when this will happen later in August. Twinning budgets. In terms of budgeting, we have 3 categories that can be financed, 3 different activity budgets, which are also, if you're familiar with Horizon 2020, they are very similar because they are conforming to these categories. We have personnel costs, we have other direct costs, which are travel, equipment, and then you have subcontracting as types of costs that Twinnings can apply to claim. The tender documents are available on the website, can be downloaded once you submit a short online form, and they comprise 5 different documents. The main one being TD0. This is the main document, the request for twinning tenders. We have also prepared 3 different application templates, administrative, technical, and financial sections that need to be submitted together to the email mentioned here by the deadline specified in the tender documents, which is the 7th of August. As I said, twinnings are evaluated then. Once they're submitted, we'll be evaluating them using an independent expert team, and they will be evaluated against exclusion, selection, compliance, and award criteria. So to the right, you can see the different award criteria we have, and a price weight is then applied of 70 to 30. Twinnings are ranked and are being funded based on the available budget. We expect to be able to announce the winning Twinnings by the 16th of September, and then after that, twinning activities can commence. And as I said, depending on the twinning type, we have different duration. Full adoption, I believe, is around 8 to 9 months, whereas knowledge and exchange and training twinnings are a bit shorter because they're mainly focusing on it doesn't end up in adoption, but the twinning aims to end up in concrete plans for future adoption. And more information can be taken from the twinning documents, the chapter on expected twinning outcomes. This was a short introduction into the main aspects of the twinning scheme. As I said, we can take questions. Please post your questions using the chat function. Because it is just me this time, I expect that we'll be collecting these questions and discussing them here within the team if there are more specific questions, and then publish the questions from the webinar 1 and from this webinar. Hopefully tomorrow, all of you will be notified if you have downloaded the documents from the website. So you will be sent an email to inform you as soon as this document is available. Thank you very much. And now if you can just post your questions, we'll be collecting them. We'll stay for 10 more minutes. And if you have additional questions that you would like to submit, also please feel free to use this address here, twinnings@digitalhealtheurope.eu, to submit further questions, as long as they are by the deadline provided here. Deadline for submission of deadline for questions is actually the 28th. So this is this Friday. So feel free to submit your questions here via the webinar or through the email. I don't see any questions being submitted via the chat function, but as I said, we'll wait a few more minutes, but this is also the end of the presentation. So if you don't have any questions, thank you for attending, and we hope to see you applying. So I'll nevertheless try to answer a few of your questions with the disclaimer, of course, that these are ad hoc answers. You have to wait until the official FAQ document is posted. But the question about whether SMEs can take part in the twinning project. So if you look at the twinning scheme call, applicants are the twinning contractor, what we call a twinning contractor, but the twinning itself can be made up of twinning originator, one, twinning adopter or adopters, and even third party. So this third party can be an SME as long as it is really needed, of course, for the twinning to take place and to be successful. But again, pointing out that the twinning's main focus is on regional, local, and national healthcare providers. SMEs can be part of this ecosystem because, for example, the originator is very dependent on a specific system, but really the focus is on the adopters coming from being healthcare providers. Another question to describe the finance budgets. Okay. So going back to the budget table, we have different twinning types, 4 of them. You can apply for any type depending on your twinning solution. So if your twinning solution is about a methodology, it might be that you would want to use twinning type 1. If it is about a very concrete solution that can be fully transferred, then you might be looking at full adoption acquisition. There are different expectations for this. If you look at the technical section, you will see, for example, that there's a page limit for full adoption and acquisition, which is much greater. So much more detail is expected in your application for the full adoption compared to the knowledge exchange and training type. So yes, and another important aspect is that you can apply for more than one Twinnings, as long as the Twinnings are represent significantly different activities and twinning solutions. This is also mentioned in the call text. Within these budgets seen here, as we said, there are 3 types of costs that you can put in your offer, and I urge you to look at the financial section to get a bit more idea. So this is the maximum, but you can actually describe in your offer what you need in terms of personnel costs, direct costs, and subcontracting. This is the mix that we have. One originator and one adopter are enough. Yes, this is a perfect normal twinning. One-to-one twinning. Also possible are one-to-many twinning. I advise you to look at the award criteria, which gives you an idea about what you'll be evaluated against. So obviously there are things there such as scale of adoption. So meaning that if you have one-to-many twinnings, the chance of getting more points here because you will have higher impact through this twinning are greater. Question on whether the slides will be available. Yes. So if you go to the Digital Health Europe website, you can already find the recording of the first webinar. If you go to events, you see that there are the 2 webinars, and probably later today we will also upload the recording of the second webinar. But if you go into the first one, you will actually see the webinar available there from the 14th of June. So we'll do the same thing here. So one question, looking at the financial slide, for full acquisition, for example, the adopter and the originator could both apply for the maximum of 43,000 or 33,000 between both. So if I go to the slide, it is per twinning, and a twinning is always a combination of at least 2 parties, an originator and an adopter. It can be more than 2 parties, an originator and multiple adopters. The prices shown here are per twinning. So if we have the case of one originator and one adopter, they act as one twinning, focusing on one twinning solutions, and can claim the maximum sums here shown per twinning. Okay, I'm looking for any other questions. Again, we're recording this. We'll have the questions also written down, and we'll have written answers for you again, probably by tomorrow, and you'll be notified. Okay, great. I don't see any other new questions. So thank you very much for attending. And as I said, hopefully we'll hear from you through the twinning applications. Thank you very much.